Goeiemorgen, good morning, dumela, buongiorno, salam alaikum. Today I'm going to show you how to turn these regular AVO seeds or pits or stones, people call them different names, into decorative buttons. But first, when you just remove the AVO pits from the AVO, they are very slippery indeed, so it's best to wash them off before you try to use them, or even before they dry. You can try to wash them with your hands, but it's a very slippery mess. You can wash them with a cloth of some kind. Okay. You can wash them with a kitchen sponge, or you can wash them with a brush. It's slippery. It doesn't matter which one you wash them. You can wash them under running water as I'm doing now, or you can wash them in a bowl of water, which I do when I have more than one or two. Point is, just get off all the slippery bits of AVO flesh and then leave them somewhere to dry until you're ready to use them. How do you turn an AVO pit into a decorative button that looks like kind of like a wooden button? I've learned from my mistakes. This was my first batch, and as you can see, I did not observe that the two halves of an AVO seed will actually make a difference when it dries. It's like dumb, I know, because I know AVO has two lobes, which you can't necessarily see very clearly on the regular AVO seed. The line that you see here is where I have cut it during peeling. But if you peel off some of the outer layer, these AVO seeds, I think we had the AVOs like 2-3 days ago. Then I just washed them to make sure there's no AVO left on it, because it makes it very slippery. And so for these, this outer husk come off quite easily. Then if you look inside here, you can clearly see the line where the two lobes meet. It's not a perfectly straight line, but what happened with my first round of attempted buttons is I cut it like there, and because that was the cut line, when it dried, the two lobes makes two different halves of the button, which is not a very stable button. And even though these are only meant for decorative use, not for holding my clothes together, this still doesn't really help very much as a decorative button. This one completely split down into two. So with my second batch, I have learned, and instead of cutting it in such a way to get both lobes into each button, I used this line as a guide and cut them that away. And this is my second attempt. When the pit is completely whole, it's very hard. In fact, I haven't been able to find out any way in which to see exactly where the division of the two lobes lie. And so I like to use a sharp knife very carefully, which is why it's not even working. You don't need to peel it completely, just enough to get a clear indication of where this lobe division lies. So all you need is a sharp kitchen knife. Well, not that sharp, more sturdy is important, and a screwdriver. So find between all the many little crisscross lines, find the actual lobe division of the AVO. So for this one, we are going to cut one line exactly there. The next one will be approximately just more than half a centimeter. So about 6 millimeters, which would be a 1/4 inch if you do American, will be approximately, ooh, no, it doesn't work if I cut the tripod. There, can't even see the mark I've made, which leaves us with this one. So I'm going to go away, can't see. I'm going to cut away a little bit here. This bit is not very, very, very big. Just with a gentle pressure. The AVO seeds are surprisingly, yeah, and I know, I've been calling them pits and seeds interchangeably all the time, which is very bad grammar. They're surprisingly soft when they're fresh. As I say, these are like 3 days old, I think. And still, they cut fairly easily. Just be very, very careful of your fingers. And that one wants to go on the line, which means it may be a little skew. Okay, and then this side they will come off another little sliver, which may or may not be enough to do something with. We'll see in a bit. Then the next thing you do is you take your seed and you decide if you want to have a button with 2 holes or a button with 4 holes. This one has enough space for 4 holes, so I will do the 4 holes because that is my preference. Then you take your screwdriver, kind of mark out your 4 holes, considering that the hole will take up some space. So don't make them too close together because then they will end up blending into one, and also not too close to the edge because then it will break away. I think that you do. And then you just push and twist a little bit. You can also do this with actual drill after they dried. Nah, screwdriver is fine. And then you can see, because I'm using the screwdriver has quite a sharp edge, you can see the point on the other side where it's starting to come through. So we can work from this side now to make sure the seed doesn't split open off to the sides here. And before any of you start making comments about, you know, who the screwdriver belongs to, I keep my own set of tools, which I use for my own purposes, which do not necessarily align with what they were made for. I know use the right tool for the job, but some tools can be used for more than one job. In the Stone Age, they used a rock for a whole lot of different things. So if they can do all those things with one piece of flint, then I can do multiple things with the screwdriver. Okay, and there you have it. Now I just lay it down on a piece of tissue paper or kitchen towel and wait for it to dry. Now this one was actually an accident. I forgot about it until I finished clean up and put away my screwdriver. And so these holes were made with a toothpick. Let's see. See, they were just little toothpick holes. And they're still fine enough for a needle and maybe some linen thread to go through. What I do want to show is that because the lobe division is not completely uniform, there's a very good chance that this one will break through here as it dries. and end up having a much thinner section here and a much thicker section here. I also have this extremely large screwdriver, which is useful for making smaller holes. Not quite as small as the toothpick, but definitely a bit smaller than my normal screwdriver. See, it's like you can even pick your hole size. Just get away all these saagsels. Kind of determine where the 4 holes will be, and press and twist, or press and twirl, more like. Press and twirl, press and twirl. See if we can get to see the holes on the other side. And that one is a bit close to the edge. It's also a bit close to the edge of the camera. And there's another one with not perfectly uniformly spaced, but for decorative purposes, it's even better. Now I leave the outside of the pit, I leave in its original shape. You could, if you want to make buttons that are more suitable for clothing, you could use a knife and whittle these into a perfectly rounded shape, or if you have some really small metal cookie cutters, you can turn the buttons into perfect circles of a uniform size, and that should give you wooden buttons that are usable for garments. Thank you for watching the video. If you like, you could buy me a coffee, because everything's better with coffee. And I'll see you next time.